Let's continue with our learning of viruses. So, what have we seen till now? So, we know that viruses are very, very small in size compared to all the other microbes. They have a very simple structure. They can have RNA or DNA as their genetic material, and they are inert or non living. But isn't this a little weird that an entity that we consider as non living has a genetic material? Why does a non living entity need a genetic material? Well, to understand that, you should know the next feature of a virus, which is that it uses a host. So, does it mean virus is like a guest? No, virus is more like a parasite, I would say. So, whether a virus is living or non living depends upon where the virus is at that moment. So, outside a host, a virus behaves like as if it's inert or non living. But inside a host, a virus becomes a living parasite. When I say a virus needs host, the term we use here is obligate. Obligate means compulsory or compulsion. So viruses are obligate parasites, so they definitely require a host in order to survive. This feature makes them invasive. Invasive means they spread very quickly within a host and it is very difficult to stop them. How exactly does the virus use a host? So let us take a look using an example. So this is a eukaryotic cell with its nucleus, nuclear associated organelles, and you would see other features which we usually find inside such a cell. And then we have our virus. So this is a spherical virus and you can see that there are these specific structures present on the surface. So these structures are important because they help them to identify the host, attach to the host, and even invade or enter into the host. Okay, so coming back. So the virus enters into the cell. Now, this virus has to make its way into the nucleus. And it has to do in such a way that the cell doesn't know that. And it does. Now, you start seeing changes in the cytoplasm in the form of these viral particles which start appearing. Then the number keeps increasing. It increases, and then finally it comes to a point where the entire cell is filled with viral particles. At this point, the host is no longer able to hold all the viral particles inside, and therefore it bursts, and we can see the viral particles rushing out. The next thing you should know about a virus is that it's sneaky. You saw how it infected the host, right? And the host cell was even aware that it was attacked by a virus. It spreads very fast. They are contagious. They spread very quickly from one host to another. And finally, they are shapeshifters. This means viruses have the capability to very slightly change their genetic material every time they jump from one host to another. And this makes it very difficult to find cure for viral infections. Having said that, there are a lot of diseases viruses cause in humans. Humans are one of their most favorite hosts. So we have diseases like herpes, which is caused by herpes simplex virus. We can see these blisters, group of blisters appearing together, and these blisters are very painful and appear all over the body. Then we have smallpox. You can see how horrible the condition of this particular child is, right? So, smallpox leads to these pustules appearing all over the body, and they are more on the face and relatively less on the body. And this is very, very dangerous because smallpox usually leads to death when untreated. But thank God we have eradicated smallpox because we have a vaccine for it. The next disease is mumps. Mumps is caused by the mumps virus, which infects the parotid gland. Parotid is the largest salivary gland that we find in our cheeks. And the virus infects the gland as well as the ducts associated with it, and it leads to swelling of the neck. It's usually seen in kids. Next, we have AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. This is caused by human immunodeficiency virus. This virus attacks the immune system of a person. That leaves the person susceptible to a lot of other infections like tuberculosis, yeast infections, cancers, etc. And these infections together is what finally kills the patient. Then we have common cold. It's one of the most common viral infections and the most contagious viral infections in humans. And we have the symptoms like runny nose, a slight fever, fatigue, throat infections, etc. It's very similar to influenza. And influenza also shows these basic symptoms. But the main difference between common cold and influenza is that common cold affects only the upper respiratory tract, whereas influenza affects the lower respiratory tract, which means it can affect your lungs. And you would all be familiar with this particular test. So, during the pandemic, COVID pandemic, we were all asked to take swab test. So, they swab your throat or your nose in order to check if you have the disease. Finally, in plants, we already saw a little bit about tobacco mosaic virus. This is a leaf that is affected by the tobacco mosaic virus. We can see that the veins in the leaf are browning, and there is curling of the leaves that is happening at the edges. We also see that there is significant yellowing on the leaf lamina. So, this happens when the cells do not have any chlorophyll, and that is a result of tobacco mosaic virus. So it affects the plant's ability to produce food, and that is how the plant dies.